I'm Dr. Uche, a practicing physician who's been coaching others to write and publish their biographies since 2013. The first autobiographies I brought to publication were for my dad and granddad, and those took more than 5 years and lots of mistakes. On this channel, I will show you the tools I use to perfect the process so that you can have your biography done in 6 months or less without the delays and mistakes. Remember to subscribe and share with your friends. Let's dig in. So maybe you've been following my videos, right? Yay! And you have a final draft, okay? You have a draft of your autobiography. First of all, congratulations. The next question is, how do we make this draft as best as it can be? So what's the next step, right? Where do you take it to at this point? Well, stay with me. That's what I'm discussing today. All right, so if you have a draft, it could be pretty rough, right? At this point, you put the history together, you've included the pictures and letters and everything, and you have it all written together in chapters following this manual, okay? So what do you do next? Well, you have to have somebody help you. That is my humble opinion, is that when you're done writing, the proofreading, the editing should go to someone else, especially if you want to have something that's going to be published and going to be like a family heirloom and something that's really going to sit at home in your family for generations. Maybe you want to sell to the public. You want to actually do it well, okay? So once you have the story together, I highly recommend that you look for somebody to professionally do the editing for you. Some of it makes or is kind of common sense, looking at spellings, looking at language construction, sentence construction, making sure something is not redundant, making sure you're saying what you need to do with as few words as possible, making sure the paragraphs flow, okay? That all goes without saying that we need to do that well, making sure the spellings are accurate and so on and so forth. The paragraphs are nicely done and so on and so forth. Now, another thing that's really useful, a lot of people may not think about, is actually finding a beta reader. What is a beta reader, or who are beta readers? They're people who you ask to read your manuscript and give you honest feedback, okay? You've made it as best as you can make it, and then you give it to people and say, please, with a letter, kindly read this and give me feedback. And there are obviously many ways of finding beta readers. They could even be in your circle of friends, somebody you know who has a very critical eye, who can read something and give you honest input. That can be really useful because at the end of the day, you want a manuscript, an autobiography that a reader out there can read and follow and get something from it, right? And when we all are writing, we're all human beings. When you're writing, it's kind of all over and it's in your head, and sometimes it's hard to step out of your head and look at it with the reader's perspective. So that's why a beta reader can be useful, to look at it and say, okay, I'm not understanding this, even though I wrote the book, for example, and I really think it makes sense. Somebody else can say, I'm really not understanding here. Can you explain more? Or this part is confusing. Can you write it better? Okay, so the second sort of umbrella aspect of looking at your work. The first is obviously making the grammar, the syntax, the spellings, the paragraphs, making sure everything flows well. And the second is actually getting honest feedback from like a beta reader. Okay, so with those two things done, those are really the main aspects you need somebody to do. I recommend somebody else outside of yourself do that to give you the best chance of making the manuscript as best as it can be. I'll see you in my next video. you.